On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. Yeah, this tariff discussion's a lot. Obviously, I've had a day to kind of digest, and I don't know if you caught my show on Friday and you made it all the way to the very end, but I did finally check at the very end to see if Trump had posted. He had. I was actually pretty close to right on the money when I was doing my assessment of Kavanaugh's discussion that he had, right, in his part that he wrote out. And basically said, I think he's given us the way forward. He's telling us right here there are other ways. So that's a lot of what's happened. We've got a lot to talk about. I've got about 20 minutes of video that we're going to share in regards to, I think some of it's Scott Bessent and one other individual, and talking about the tariffs specifically. So we are definitely going to key in on some of that to a large extent. I've got potential with Iran right now going into larger war, and certainly it looks like we are preparing for just such a thing. Trump did give them 10 to 15 days. I think it would be unlike Trump to actually not give them that full set of time. Now, he might ride out the money or just barely before or just barely after, but I don't think he'd be like, I'm going to give you 10 days and then 5 days into it, surprise him. I don't know if he'd do that. I think they're trying to work out something. There's a lot of bullshit stories floating around. Politico, Axios are behind most of them, so just be careful what you're reading. There's also a crap story around artificial colors and flavors. We're going to be talking about that too, because there's just a lot of misinformation that's out there. You guys got to be careful. Look at the sources. Look where the sources are coming from. Please get better at that. I'm not saying you suck, but many do out there. So please be aware of where the sources are coming from. If it's alleged sources or specifically named, if it's someone that's close to Trump's inner circle, they're not leaking. They're not leaking. If it's another country maybe involved, it could be. So again, you've got to use your assessment, but just this idea that so-and-so posted it, therefore it's correct, is wrong. Stop believing that. Find the sources. Don't look at what people are saying. Find the sources. And if they're not referencing the sources, do a search. 9 times out of 10, they'll take the actual headline, make that part of their story when they're stealing the information. Find the actual story, and you're going to find 9 times out of 10, it's Axios, it's Politico, it's Reuters, and then also you're going to find that it's alleged sources, or reportedly, or you're going to see some sort of syntax in there that's going to basically say, yeah, this is from a bullshit source. Be mindful. Also, Tuesday, Trump is going to be doing his State of the Union speech. I am planning on streaming that, so if you'd like to join, hang out and chat and stuff like that, we will do exactly that. It should be fun. I'm not exactly sure what time it's at. I'm assuming it's roughly around 8 o'clock Eastern time, but I will dig into that, and I'll talk more about it tomorrow on my Monday show. All that said, let's get the ball rolling, man. I got a lot of stuff to talk about, and I have just yapped enough. Huge victory for us, and I have not cared about the Olympics really at all. But hockey is a big deal, and I got a lot of Canucks in my family here. And I don't mean my actual biological family, but I mean my radio-style family. I love you guys. Honk, honk all the way. I will love my Canadian friends till the end of time. I used to handle sales and reporting for North America, so I worked with a bunch of Canadians. I've just huge love for Canadian people, as well as, of course, the great old US of A. Now, the Canadian government sucks balls. You guys know that live there, of course. We'd like to see all these things fixed. I mean, England's out of control, Germany's out of control, France is out of control, Canada's out of control, right? So no big surprise to anybody. But huge play. United States wins hockey. Hockey is Canada's sport. Canada and Russia pretty much always win. And we've surprised them a few times, but we did it again this year, and this was a year we needed it. Check it out, this fine, so awesome. And my middle finger was not extended to Canadians, only to the Canadian government. USA finally wins the Olympic gold medal after 46 years on hockey, of course. Just fantastic. Just fantastic stuff. This dude had his teeth busted out just like earlier in the game or the prior. I mean, I was bleeding still, so I don't know. That's hockey for you. Lost your teeth? Yeah, I kept playing. It didn't matter. Just he'll smile all day long. So awesome. Now, they did something really beautiful. This is Johnny Gaudreau. I'm not a huge, I don't follow hockey. I'll watch it. I love it. It's actually one of the sports I'll happily sit there and watch. I don't even care who's playing. I'll enjoy a game of hockey. I just think it's fun as hell to watch. I played soccer, so I feel like it's kind of similar. Many might argue that, but whatever. I think it's similar. And I love it. This guy, I think, died. I'm assuming. Sorry, I could have dug up more, but it's not important enough to me to do that, and that's why I didn't. So if you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. Whatever. Number 13, they brought his kids out on the ice to celebrate his, I'm assuming he died. Something happened to him. But they were supporting it. Number 13, Gaudreau, however you say it. And yeah, it's 2 kids out there on the ice with the Team America celebration. That's cool. Just cool is all I can say. I love it. Very proud of us on that one. Huge storm is coming into the northeastern U.S., kind of New Jersey, New York area, it seems like. If you live in that area, you're probably well aware that it's coming. But this is going to be a pretty nasty blizzard. So anybody that does live out in that area, please prepare, be careful. And you guys are going to be heading into a very, very cold spell here. So God bless, good luck, and all of that good stuff. A lot of craziness going on in the world, that's for sure. And we've got a few. I share this here, not because it's crazy. Actually, this is beautiful, but the timing of it is odd. We'll get there next story here in a second. Trump hosts governors at the White House for dinner. Stunning violin performance. There was only 2 governors that were not invited. I'm not sure how many actually showed up. I assume a bunch of blue states governors did show up. Many probably didn't. 2 in particular didn't. I think Maryland's governor, and I forget who the other one was, but it wasn't Fat Pritzker, and it wasn't Newsom. He actually invited both of them. So the people he didn't choose to invite are people he's got major battles against right now. So all of that said, he did have a pretty cool little experience. Hegseth, I started off with the prayer, and they had a beautiful violin thing going on, and blah, 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 right? There you go. Now, what is interesting is literally a few hours after this event ended in Washington, D.C., an armed man approached the North Gate at Mar-a-Lago with a shotgun, and I think, did he have some other stuff? He had a shotgun. Let's see. Man was, he was 20-year-old male. It was 1:30 a.m., February 22nd, this morning, Sunday morning. And he was shot by U.S. Secret Service agents and a deputy from the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office following an unauthorized entry into the secure perimeter at Mar-a-Lago. Individuals whose identity we do now know, but they were withholding it at first. He was pronounced dead at the scene. U.S. Secret Service agents and a PBSO sheriff confronted the individual, and shots were fired by law enforcement during the encounter. No U.S. Secret Service or PBSO personnel were injured. There were no Secret Service protectees present at the location at the time of the incident. The incident, including the individual's background, actions, potential motive, and use of force, is under investigation. The individual who did the shooting is on administrative leave, which is normal. Anytime you shoot somebody, they give you a couple days off to make sure you didn't do it in a bad way. Now, the Mar-a-Lago shotgun-wielding madman, and he's been ID'd as North Carolina golf course artist. This is the dude right here, Whitey, pasty Whitey. This is the progressive-y kind of people. Wouldn't surprise me if we find out he's transitioning as a transgender or something, but Austin Tucker Martin. Interesting names, if you think about it. 21-year-old of Cameron, North Carolina. He was ID'd at the gunman. Just a 12 gauge. I mean, not smart. His parents actually called him in missing the day before. They were wondering what the hell happened. So this dude did just some crazy thing. They're wondering if he purchased the firearm on the way down to the Florida location. It was still in the box. I don't know if that necessarily means he bought it, but there'd probably be a receipt in the car if that's true. But just keeping it in the box isn't uncommon. I know a lot of people that keep their firearms in the box when they're not using it, just because you got the box and you kind of like to hang on to it. I got gun cases and stuff like that, so I don't need to do that. I don't really worry about the box as much, but especially here in California, because the box is not an acceptable way to carry a firearm, even if it's unloaded. You have to have it in a locked case. All of that said, that's the dude. Smirking Vegas thieves. They're blaming police for a crash that killed a 101-year-old World War II veteran as they're sentenced to prison. Very sad. He was able to survive the Nazis and everything else, but he was not able to survive the illegal immigrants driving crazily. So here are a couple immigrants for sure. Whether they're legal or not, don't know, but they were running from cops. Very high-speed chase, and they ended up killing this older gentleman here. Very, very sad. Very, very sad. Thank you for your service, sir, and you get to be with God, so that's fantastic. And well, a lot of us are going to see you when we get to the other side. Every single one of us is going to pass through that doorway. At some points, we will experience what you've just experienced. God bless you, sir. And hopefully we can clean up the rest of this nation. J.D. Vance says that President Trump is about to go full 2026 golden age at the State of the Union address Tuesday ahead of the midterms. I'm excited about this report. Again, so that's why I'm going to be there doing it live with you guys.
Ahead of the president. But look, you're going to hear a lot about the importance of bringing jobs back into our country, of reshoring manufacturing, of all these great factories that are being built. But when they turn on, and you're hiring thousands of American workers per factory, that's when the real Trump boom, I think, starts. I think he's going to talk about regulatory change, the importance of lowering energy prices for American citizens, because, if you lower a person's gas bill or you lower a person's electricity bill, yeah, that's good because they're paying less money for gas and electricity. But it also means the farmer who has taken the food to the grocery store, that price goes down because the farmer's paying less for gas and electricity too. So you'll hear a lot about the Trump energy boom, which is very powerful. We've got record low energy prices, and that's a very good thing to point to.
Well, just before...
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. And again, I'm looking forward to it like I think many of you guys are. So I keep thinking like, as things change, am I going to reach a point where I'm going to be like, I feel like I need to get a job because they're hurting for positions. I kind of wonder that. And I'll probably keep trying to do this as well if I do something like that. It's kind of the first time in my life that I've ever not had more than one job. It's very strange. In fact, first time in my life I've never had W-2 income for that matter. So it's kind of a trip. But all that said, this is part of the process. We're making it through this. Big talks about whether climate change was the greatest financial scandal in history. I just wanted to pull a couple statistics out of this particular story. I don't really care to spend a whole lot of time on it. I think most of my audience is well aware that the crazy environmental things that they've been claiming, first off, aren't based off of any reality. The models they use don't even predict current weather. They can't predict regular weather accurately right now. Their models are not accurate. Yet these are the models that they use to tell us and scare us that the world's gonna die and end. Granted, there's a whole lot of other directions this same fear factor comes from. A lot of people talking about the coming Earth changes, and I don't know if it's going to play out the way most people think. I'm going to say that. I think there's a lot of people that are, this is my opinion, so please just take it with a grain of salt, but I think there's a lot of people that are still attached to the dark path. I don't mean they're themselves maybe on the dark timeline, but they're still seeing the dark timeline. I don't believe we're on the dark timeline. I don't. I think there's a light side timeline that we are on, and I think that plays out very differently than the other timeline. The dark timeline was the one the bad people were trying to get us on. The light timeline is the one we switched to, arguably 2012, maybe a little after that. Some have said 2016. I actually think it's probably more around 2012. I think a lot of people don't understand that things aren't instant. It's like once that time happened, then we slowly started to evolve into that newer reality. And I also think that's when a lot of the Mandela effect stuff started. And I don't know if you're familiar with the Mandela effect stuff, but one of the stories that always stuck out with me was the Shazam story. I don't know if you know anything about it. You guys can look up Mandela effect. It's actually surprising, but for those of you that are aware of it, Shazam was a movie that supposedly didn't come out. But I remember seeing it in the theater. That movie definitely came out, unquestionably. So again, there's a lot of other stuff too that's definitely gotten my attention. There's plenty of Mandela effects that I don't remember, but there's a bunch of them that I do. The mirror, mirror on the wall is a good one. There's a lot of strange stuff. Anyway, all that said, 30 years global warming nonsense. We've been hearing it. I've been hearing it longer than that, actually, going back to when I was in high school and stuff. So I guess it's about 30 years. $16 trillion we've spent worldwide. $16 trillion on a bunch of stuff that's supposed to help with the global warming. That $16 trillion has done zero to change the temperatures. Global temperatures have not changed at all, up or down, in the 30 years. And the big question is, what could we have done with that money? $16 trillion. We very possibly could have prevented avoidable deaths from diseases like malaria, building schools in African villages to end illiteracy and hotfully bring clean water, bringing reliable and affordable electric power to more than 1 billion people who still lack access. A lot of things we could have done with $16 trillion other than shoving it into bureaucrats' pockets, or people like Bill Gates' pockets, or Al Gore's pockets, right? And what was his truth? I forget the word he used, but yeah, again, it's inconvenient for him. That's what it was. Inconvenient truth. Inconvenient for him because he's not getting that money anymore. That's what's going on. J.D. Vance, the Supreme Court tariff decision represents lawlessness from the court. He said today the Supreme Court decided that Congress, despite giving the president the ability to regulate imports, didn't actually mean it. This is lawlessness from the court, plain and simple, and its only effect will be to make it harder for the president to protect American industries and supply chain resiliency. We are exactly that. Now, here's Scott Bessent. I think I'm playing this at 1.25 speed. And again, I'm playing some YouTube stuff today, so for any of my YouTube people out there, apologize if I got to cut it. I think they'll allow me to play it. They'll just say I can't monetize, but I don't monetize anyway, so it won't matter. All that said, here is J.D. Vance. He was on Fox News. Scott Bessent on Fox News. And I actually think this is worth it. Like I said, I'm playing it a little faster to not use as much time, but this is very good stuff. And he's talking a lot about the tariffs, the directions they're going to go, what the expectation is for our economy. Stuff that I think is very important to hear. Check it out, please.
So what happens next? Who better to answer that question than the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, who joins me now here in Dallas. Mr. Secretary, it's great to have you in Texas.
Well, good to be with you. Great to be here in the Lone Star State.
We're glad to have you. So I listened to you speak this morning, and we've heard from the president. It sounds like the position of the administration is really nothing has changed today.
Well, to be clear, today was a loss for the American people because by taking away President Trump's instantaneous leverage using the IEPA authority, the American people have suffered a significant setback. Think to this time last year when President Trump put on the fentanyl tariffs against Mexico, Canada, China for the precursor chemicals, and then we saw a rapid decline in fentanyl deaths. If that's not an emergency authority, what was? On October 8th, when the Chinese government said that they were going to put a worldwide export control on any product that had 0.01% Chinese rare earths in it, 24 hours later, President Trump said that he would impose a 100% tariff on China if they did it. They immediately came to the negotiating table, and we were able to negotiate a one-year extension. So in terms of the direction of travel, national security, how we will get there with these deals, nothing, revenue, nothing has changed. But what has changed, the Supreme Court has taken away the president's leverage, but in a way, they have made the leverage that he has more draconian because they agreed he does have the right to a full embargo.
So that's what I mean when I say that in a way, the line from the administration seems to be that nothing has changed today. It's not that the tariffs haven't been used to control fentanyl or to control trade with China, but rather when I've listened to you speak so far today and the president, that you will immediately institute these tariffs, continue these tariffs through different mechanisms. You can, through I believe it's section 122, immediately extend these tariffs for 5 months. And in the meantime, then launch investigations to extend these tariffs further under other sections of these trade acts.
Exactly, and the durability of the Section 232s, Section 301s, which are already in effect, and the Commerce and USTR will launch additional investigations into additional deficiencies. Those will take 30, 60, 90 days, but within 3 days, the president can put on the Section 122 10% global tariff. So at Treasury, for the full year 2026, we foresee no decrease in revenue. But again, it's the instantaneous power that the president has. But now that he's going to have to, if he wants to negotiate with these countries, he does have the right to say, I can embargo all your products. Well, we just can't collect $1 from the embargo.
But why wasn't, if this same authority exists under these different sections of the 1974, 1962 trade acts, why not just do that in the first place instead of IEPA? If this was capable in the first place and that everything basically remains the same today, even though the Supreme Court has struck down this authority under IEPA, why not just go this path from day one on Liberation Day?
Oh, because the IEPA tariffs were custom made for President Trump to assert leverage versus the countries. I think the other thing that we will look back and think that the use of IEPA tariffs actually set the format for the countries because we were able to bring them to the table very quickly. It's just much more cleaner to be able to say, come and negotiate. We have a 45% tariff on you. Come and negotiate and bring down your tariffs on us, your non-tariff trade barriers, your subsidies for all of that. So as opposed to, look, we're going to do a 301, we're going to do a 232, we're going to combine all these things because that's what, in essence, going to happen now. We will get back to the same tariff level for the countries. It will just be in a less direct and slightly more convoluted manner. So actually being able to do the IEPA out of the box was helpful.
A couple more questions on the tariffs so that I understand what happens next. You mentioned the revenue will not change for Treasury, but what about the revenue you've already collected? What about the $175 billion? Do you anticipate having to make refunds at Treasury?
Well, I'm not going to get out ahead of the courts. And as the president said, the Supreme Court was very discombobulated on this. They didn't give any guidance on it. I think it's probably not 175. I think it's probably closer to 130, but still a substantial amount. They have remanded it back down to a lower court. And as Amy Coney Barrett said in the original hearing that I was at, this could be a mess. And this could take months, this could take years to litigate and to get to the payouts. And if there is a payout, it looks like it's just going to be the ultimate corporate welfare, because what you don't know is, did a Chinese supplier lower their price? So they lowered their price because of the tariff. The product came into the US, the buyer paid the tariff, but it was really the same price as before, but they're going to get a refund on the tariff.
So it's direct payoff to the importer, direct payoff to the country that you were looking to try to control behavior.
Yep.
One more, speaking of international trade and speaking of other countries, one more on tariffs. These trade deals that you and Jameson Greer and President Trump have negotiated, say with the UK, say with the European Union, that were done in part with leverage from the tariffs. And for that matter, the peace deals as well to solve these wars. Are those deals under any kind of threat now? Do you think everyone will honor the deals, even though now supposedly the tariffs have been done asunder by the Supreme Court?
Well, again, we can move to 232 and 301 tariffs, so I think that everyone is going to honor their deal. And there is the draconian alternative that the Supreme Court reaffirmed that the president has. He has a right to a complete embargo.
Right.
Like, he can just cut countries off. He can cut whole product lines off. We can't receive any money. So, I would call on all countries to honor their agreements and move forward.
All right. One of the reasons you're here today, Mr. Secretary, in Dallas, is you are talking about Trump accounts. You have said, when it comes to Trump accounts, that they are the most significant policy innovation in modern times. You called it the greatest merger in world history. Those are big, big compliments to Trump accounts. What is so transformative?
Well, again, we are merging. When I said it's a big merger, it is Wall Street and Main Street. 38% of American families have no exposure to the U.S. stock market. Our great innovation machine, capitalist machine, the economic growth machine. And with Trump accounts for the next 4 years, every child born, parents fill out a form, child gets an account, Treasury puts in $1,000. It goes into an index fund. It's available to the child when he or she turns 18. During that period, parents, employers, relatives can contribute up to $1,000. And we've also got some of our great philanthropists, Texan, Susan, and Michael Dell, are contributing $6.25 billion to the children of America via the Trump accounts.
So they arrive at the age of 18, they've already got a nest egg built up, compound interest over 18 years.
Over 18 years. Or, so at 18, you can use it for down payment on a house, you can use it for a car down payment for education, or you can roll it into a more traditional retirement account and let it roll until you're 60. And that's a very nice kind of barbell with Social Security and then to get the lump sum. But I think this is going to be transformational, and it's also going to give everyone a stake in the markets, in the economy.
I'm glad you bring up the analogy of the barbell. So there are a lot of people who are rightfully concerned about the state of the American economy, specifically wealth distribution and the plight of the working class. And quite honestly, Mr. Secretary, I don't give gratuitous compliments, but I'm not afraid to give them when they are accurate. You have been a voice for that. I've heard you talk about this in long-form conversations. You're concerned about the price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of life, a home for the working class, for the middle class, for America. And there's a lot of concern out there. I know there's good indicators. I know the Dow broke 50,000. I know the S&P's above 7,000. Not great GDP numbers that just came in this morning on the fourth quarter. But still, despite the good signs, there is pain out there among the working class. How is the Trump administration not just helping the top of the market, but helping it get down to the people that really need the help?
Well, I think a lot of the pain is muscle memory from the being abused so badly during the 4 years of the Biden administration. 21.5% inflation for working families, probably in the 30s, because their bundle of goods and services, the rent, insurance, groceries, car payments, probably much higher. So what we are seeing, we've seen real wage increases for every month President Trump has been in office. So inflation is coming down, still too high, but moving back towards the Fed's target. But wages have grown faster than inflation, and real wages went down about 3 or 4% just on the 21.5 number, forget the 30 number, the inflation number during the Biden era. During President Trump's first term, hourly workers did better than supervisory workers. The bottom 50% of American households had a bigger net worth increase than the top 10%, and I think we are going back onto that.
So you have given, as I said, and as I've complimented you, which I think is deserved, some of the best articulation and voice of the Trump administration's economic policy. You've often described it as 3-3-3. 3% GDP growth, 3% deficit, 3 million new barrels of oil a day. I've seen criticism of this. The criticism is not in aspiration, but whether or not it can actually be accomplished. And I think the number that most people wonder is, can the federal deficit actually ever get down to 3%? I don't know where we are today, somewhere between 5 and 6%. And the CBO, which I know you do not trust, but CBO projects it to go up. And look, fiscal restraint's never been the muscle memory of Congress. So how are we going to do it? How do we get the deficit to 3%?
Again, let's look at a little history. 2024, deficit to GDP was 6.9%, final year of the Biden administration, highest it had ever been when we weren't in a recession, weren't at war. The 2025 down to 5.4%. How do we do that? By restraining spending and growing the denominator. So we can grow our way out of this if we don't have to.
On the note of growth, does it concern you then that the fourth quarter GDP just came in the ones? Was it 1.4%? And I know that's noisy. I know it's short term, but is that concerning for you on your GDP aspiration?
What's concerning for me is the Democrats' willingness to crash the economy to make a ridiculous point. So it was this longest shutdown in history that caused the fourth quarter to crash. We had second quarter 4.1, third quarter 4.4, and then this drop off. It would have been 100, 200 basis points higher. The other thing that's going, the unsung here, is the big write-downs that the car companies took because of the ridiculous Biden EV mandates. So you get those big write-downs in the auto companies, and that's a hit to GDP. So
back to the deficit, Mr. Secretary, can this actually be done? So I will grant you that I think you probably have a very good economic policy in place that's going to lead to GDP growth over some arc. The question is, can Congress ever stop spending? Can you ever get Congress, and can you do it, by the way, without touching defense, Medicare, and Social Security?
We can, if we restrain the numerator and grow the denominator. So I believe we can grow 3.5% this year at least.
2026.
Add on to 2.2% inflation, then you're at 5.7 nominal growth, and the expenses go up 2%, 3% with inflation, and you will grow your way out of this. You will start bending the curve down, and we could be at 3, something with a 3 in front of it by the time the president leaves office. And to be candid, this is why I came out from behind my desk. I had a nice life in Charleston, South Carolina. I could be sitting there now, but I went to see President Trump. And the first time I went in to see him at Mar-a-Lago to talk about joining the economic team, joining the campaign, unprompted, he looked across the desk and said to me, "Scott, how are we going to get this terrible deficit, this terrible debt down without causing a recession?"
Yes, that's the trick, right? And can it be done without a recession?
I think it can. And everything we're doing, tax policy, trade policy, and the permitting reform and loosening regulation, the deregulatory policy is what's really going to let us grow. Because that's why I don't know if Texas were a country what the GDP would be, but you got huge inbound here, good tax policy, and incredible deregulation here.
It's a great little laboratory experiment in that type of economy, that type of regulation, that type of governance. Interesting. This is what brought you out from behind that desk. In part 333, but in part to figure out how we can get out of this deficit hole that we're in, ultimately this debt hole that we're in. I would love to, let's talk a little bit more about behind that desk. I have been fascinated with you, your life, your career. One of the things I think some people know about your career, if they don't, they're about to learn, is that you worked for a long time, 2 different stints, 15 years for George Soros. And there's a lot of people watching, I'm sure you know, Mr. Secretary, like, what? The Secretary worked for George Soros? There's a lot of people, perhaps me included, that have a lot of doubts about this man. So I would ask you, what do we misunderstand about George Soros?
Well, a couple of things. My job for him was working at the investment side, never on the foundation side, and those were kept very separate. And for my first stint, Mr. Soros was focused on bringing down the Iron Curtain and was very helpful in the collapse of the Soviet Union. After I had left the first time, sometime in the early 2000s, I don't know what happened. He got much more focused on domestic policy. He and I rarely talked about politics. We haven't spoken since just after President Trump was elected in 2016.
Haven't spoken in 10 years.
And I would tell you that we had a very robust discussion, and election night 2016 was one of the 3 best periods I've ever had for money making, because I thought President Trump was going to win. And I don't know if you remember, Will, but election night 2016, the market crashed. Market crashed, and that was one of the greatest buying opportunities of all time, because I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, this is the most pro-business president probably since Calvin Coolidge. And I later found out that George Soros was the one selling the market. He was crashing the market, lost several $1 billion that night, and myself and several others made a lot of money for our investors the next few weeks.
We have a couple minutes left together, but I just can't pass up following up on what it means to have a robust conversation, not with George Soros, but with Scott Bessent, because I understand there's been some robust conversations. Elon Musk, Bill Pulte. Is there a point here, if I push this interview hard enough, or am I walking on thin ice?
Look, I'm from a small town in South Carolina, and we like to keep it inside, but you can always take it outside. I don't know. I'm always told don't mess with Texas, Will. But I would say don't mess with the Low Country of South Carolina either.
Fair enough. Okay, fair enough. One more, not to press the issue, but one more on George Soros. You said you didn't talk politics, you didn't talk policy, you did talk investment. Here's the great question for me, and Mr. Soros has an open invitation to come spend an hour with me here on Woken Show, or his son for that matter, because I just want to understand the vision. What is the vision of George Soros for this world?
Yeah, again, many people have asked me that. I don't understand. Country's been very good to him. It was just like this young Olympic athlete that the vice president was talking about earlier on the previous show. America was great to her. She sold out to China. That America was great to Mr. Soros. He has a very different vision, and it's mercifully, it is one that the American people don't share. So,
right.
But
well, let's stay, if you wouldn't mind, just one more. And I don't know that I've seen you address this, but we've crossed the line from your public office to your private life. And, Gavin Newsom and you went back and forth at Davos. He made a post I think many saw as homophobic. It kind of played on Real Housewives or housewives of Davos. If you're running knee pads, in some type of sexual innuendo, you are the highest ranking gay public policy office holder, I believe, in the history of America. And I will bet you there are some people watching that don't know that what I just said, because you're not a member of the Biden administration. That hasn't been the top line of your resume. You're not the first and proclaimed and celebrated because of that fact. That's been a fact in the background, unimportant to the Trump administration. I'm just curious what that says about you and the Trump administration.
Well, it's what it says about President Trump. President Trump created the cabinet, not because who you go home to at night, not because of the color of your skin, not because of your religion, not because of some background. Created it based on merit. So, I go to the office every day knowing that I was chosen on merit. And the Gavin Newsom, one thing I'll tell you, if you want to go back to boxing, that guy cannot take a punch. I mean,
what do you mean?
He likes to dish it out, but you push back on him and he gets completely flustered. Oh. I mean, it is, you bark at him and he...
Glass jaw.
Glass jaw, and I think slow brain.
Okay. Well, Secretary Besson, this has been a pleasure. I really appreciate the 25 minutes you gave us here today. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time. I'm glad to hear the economic vision and glad to get to know you a little bit as a man. Thank you for your time here today.
I didn't know he was gay. I didn't know he was. I knew Rick Grinnell was gay. I didn't know he was gay. Not that I mean, it kind of explains some of his mannerisms a lot to me. I just never assumed it. It's so funny. Gaydar's usually really good. That's weird. I feel like and again, I don't, gay men, I've known a few. There's some of the most successful, intelligent, there's something there. I'm not trying to get off on a weird tangent, but that's a trip. I did not know. I was shocked. Just right now. I didn't listen to this thing all the way through. I got there, I think, just the last minute. I think I was like, frick, all this is good. We're going to go with it. So, wow. Now, I feel like I'm shifting gears. Fuck. Oh, put the clutch in. Shit, sorry. Yeah, there we go. All right. So, Rep Roy from Texas. They're like, dude, we got to fix this IEPA shit. This whole mess is because of Congress. Now, there's a lot of things that are happening simultaneously. One, we're finding out that the Supreme Court isn't totally on our side. I was hopeful. Now we know for sure Amy Coney Barrett was a bad choice. Trump's kind of admitting it without being a total dick because it was his appointee. But it was also on recommendations, and he's going to own it. That's what Trump did. That's what I would do. That's what anyone would do. They're going to own it. She was my choice. I've learned a lot of things since. I was, spent zero time in politics. All of a sudden, I'm running for president. So, yeah. Had a little bit of a learning curve, but most of these people are idiots. I was able to catch up quickly. I'm speaking for Trump. So IEPA needs to be fixed. Congress needs to be pointed out to how inept and incapable they are. The Senate's not willing to do a majority thing because of the filibuster. Again, I don't know. Filibusters worked for both sides. So I've always been kind of like, we should theoretically be able to get 60 people to vote for the FAIR Act. Or SAVE Act, sorry. We should be able to find, there's Fetterman, right? But we'll probably have a couple Republicans that we got to worry about voting the other side. We need, more than anything, there's two things that I think are the most important right now, our economy and voting. If we don't get voting done, I shouldn't use that let's use this as the finger to represent voting, not this one, because it came second. That's not good. If we fix voting, we fix Congress. If we fix Congress, we easily fix this country. We have to see the problem. Unless Congress does something crazy, the Supreme Court's kind of kept out of it, we will likely very easily be able to get rid of Roberts, for example, make Clarence Thomas the first head Supreme Court justice that's African American, but we know he'll hold up. We all know we can trust that. And then Trump gets to put in one or two more Constitution-oriented people. We have to go through this. Now, people have been saying for a long time, and I thought we were going to maybe happy thought our way out of this. I kind of did, I'll be honest. I was kind of wondering, where's this Dark Knight? It doesn't seem like it's queued up. It doesn't seem like it's loaded. It doesn't seem like it's in the chamber, if you will. Now it does. Think about this for a second. I don't know if any of you guys have ever followed the Brunson case, and I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to spend a second on it, other than, do you think that would even get through the Supreme Court? Think about that. Any of you guys that have followed the Brunson case, it has zero chance in the courts. Zero. Everything you've heard, well, they were taken up and it's on the docket and they're says who? Who so-and-so said. Okay, well, look at our current Supreme Court and their actions. Does that support the horse shit we've been fed? And by the way, the EBS broadcast is coming today. Fuck, man, that's been said every week for 7 years? Since the Q's post started. The EAS alert is going to come, and we're all going to just be locked in, and we're going to watch 8 hours of TV. Again, might happen, doubt it. We have to see the mess. And we, as individuals, have to imagine and work towards the fix. Each one of you, me too, as you, an individual. What you do, how you think, what you work on matters more than anything else. You can be pissed at everyone else. You can point your fingers every place else. There's always three coming back at you. It's not their fault. It's your fault. My fault. It's our fault. If it's our fault, then we got to do something about it, don't we? Well, Congress is supposed to represent us. Obviously, they don't. If we can get a fair election, if we can get a fair election, we'll change this country.
Texas Congressman Chip Roy, who sits on the House Judiciary Committee, is with us now. Congressman, really interesting move. You're a member of Congress. Republicans have the majority, at least for now. Why not give the president the authorization he needs?
Well, one thing is clear, and by the way, I've not been able to read the ruling, right? I've been reading the summaries of the ruling online and so forth because I had meetings this morning, but I'm printing it off and reading it this afternoon. The fact is, Congress is the one who made the mess out of all of this. The IEPA language is incredibly vague and problematic. And frankly, this is something I've been trying to work on since I've been in Congress. 6 years ago, I introduced legislation to try to term out some of these 40 and 50-year abuses of the IEPA statute. But Congress needs to clean it up, right? And the court here, I don't think, did us any favors. I think they made it worse. I think they complicated things in trying to step in and intervene. Now, at the end of the day, your question is whether Congress would go allow or permit certain tariffs that may have been interfered with here. And pause for a second. The president has a lot of other authorities, and the court acknowledged that, a lot of other authorities to go pursue, if not under IEPA. But I think the one question is the votes, right? Is having the votes in the House or the Senate to, enact additional empowerment for tariffs. And that's something we're going to have to go look at now in light of the ruling. But we need to read it and see the
And you understand the urgency to my question because, look, you might lose the majority next November. You've got the House, you've got the White House, you've got the Senate. I just think there are people watching right now who'd like to see Congress get things done, including the SAVE Act. I know the House passed it. Joe Biden said when it came to student loan debt relief after the Supreme Court blocked him, the Supreme Court blocked it but did not stop me. Why doesn't Donald Trump do the same thing?
Well, back to your point on the Save America Act. I mean, look, Congress does need to act. You are completely correct. If we want to win in November, we need Congress to actually step up and lead. The president is leading. The president is doing a lot of great things for this country. Congress has done some good things. We worked to get the big, beautiful bill done. We passed the Lake and Riley Act with the SUE Act, allowing states to be able to sue the feds if they don't secure the border. A lot of other good things. But we need to move on big, important issues like the Save America Act to ensure that only American citizens vote in American elections. And now we're going to have a debate about the tariff issue. Again, I do believe the president has other avenues to pursue under executive power in order to continue to deal what he wants to do on tariff policy. But, that's something he's going to look at and we're going to have to look at in Congress.
All right, two quick ones, Congressman. And no one's asked you about this. So Sharia law, I've talked a lot about this. It's just not congruent with Western civilization. But they're already blaring the call to prayer in New York City. I've heard it. Muslims are running for office all over the country. These people are not here to assimilate. Mosques are being built all over the country. You started the Sharia-Free America Caucus, and the left mocked you. Now I think there are over 40 members. How big a deal should this be? How much should people be aware of this?
I think it is the number one issue that Americans need to be focusing on and this country needs to take seriously. And I mean that. We are under assault. There is a coordinated effort from the Muslim Brotherhood to CARE to 600 different organizations that are trying to advance Sharia into the United States and the Islamification of our country in the state of Texas. If you think what's happening in Paris and in London and in Germany and throughout Europe, with 50 million Muslims moving into Europe over the last 2 decades, if you think America is immune from that, you are crazy. You're missing out on what's actually occurring. We not only have the prayer calls in New York and what's going on in Mamdani and this ridiculousness about dogs, you have the issue with Dearborn, Michigan, et cetera. It's in Texas. We have Epic City right outside of Plano, a 400-acre Muslim compound. We have Islamic centers being built in Austin, in West Campus of the University of Texas. We have 300 mosques in Texas and more mosques being built in Texas every year than any other state in the union. We've got to be very real about this. Sharia law is an affront to Western civilization, and we need to stop it in its tracks before it takes root.
And just a few seconds, how do you respond to accusations that you are Islamophobic? I have been called Islamophobic, which I'm not.
Yeah, the fact of the matter is Sharia law and the Islamification of this country is in direct conflict with the Declaration of the Constitution and the rule of law. There's nothing that is Islamophobic about that. What there really is a recognition that if you're trying to Islamify the West, that is a political ideology. That is not a religion protected under the First Amendment. It's a political ideology.
Yes.
They are trying to shove through and take over the United States. I will stand up and fight that all day long. And by the way, like Randy Fine, I'll stand with puppies and dogs in New York over Sharia any day of the week.
All right, Congressman Chip Roy, appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Yep, happy to.
I want to show you this.
Yeah, the strong Sharia thing just is not compatible with Western culture, period. End of story. End of story. And there's no allowance of segments of it, no, because much like we're seeing in places like Minneapolis, you get small little sections of groups of ethnicity of specific origin, and they seem to band together against everyone else. Now, I understand there's a feeling of unity because you're from the same place, but to attack the host, it's like these people that stay in hotel rooms and destroy them. Yeah, you're not welcome. That's not okay. So, Rep. Roy, by the way, because you are part of the Freedom Caucus, I believe, and you sometimes vote weird. You usually, when you talk and are involved in stuff, seem like a really good guy. I want to believe you are. I want to believe you've got a future in movement, maybe even Senate one day. But when you do weird votes, can you do me a favor and try to make that more public? Can you be more vocal when you do weird votes, please? So we don't Marjorie Taylor Greene you on accident? Just asking for a friend. Chip, love you, buddy. Love you. I just gave you 5 minutes. Donald Trump, truth this. What happened today with the United States Supreme Court justices, obviously 2 days ago, that I appointed against great opposition, Neil Gorsuch and Amy Coney Barrett, whether people like it or not, never seems to happen with Democrats. They vote against the Republicans and never against themselves. Almost every single time, no matter how good a case we have. At least I didn't appoint Roberts, who led the effort to allow foreign countries that have been ripping us off for years to continue to do so. But we won't let it happen. The new tariffs, totally tested and accepted as law, are on their way. President Donald J. Trump, he also said, those members of the Supreme Court who voted against our very acceptable and proper method of tariffs should be ashamed of themselves. Their decision was ridiculous, but now the adjustment process begins, and we will do everything possible to take in even more money than we were taking in before. His response is directly to the deep state. Roberts is owned. We've heard enough stories, likely tied in with Epstein, probably one of the redacted or 3 million documents that aren't public, that might. I mean, it would be strange if some records started coming from the CIA as Ratcliffe maybe, shares some info, maybe redacts stuff that might give sources or means, but certainly info. It could happen, And I'm saying that tongue-in-cheek. Donald Trump, truth this as well, based on thorough, detailed, and complete review of the ridiculous, poorly written, and extraordinarily anti-American decision on tariffs issued yesterday, after many months of contemplation by the United States Supreme Court, please let this statement serve to represent that I, as President of the United States of America, he went camel case on it, by the way, very important, the actual republic. As President of the Republic, very important to keep that in mind. The Supreme Court is capital letters. You guys can debate me on that all day long, but just Pop that into that brain. Will be effective immediately, raising the 10% worldwide tariffs on countries, many of which have been ripping off the U.S. for decades without retribution until I came along, to the fully allowed and legally tested 15% level. During the next short number of months, the Trump administration will determine and issue the new and legally permissible tariffs, which will continue our extraordinarily successful process of making America great again. The big problem is this different sections. We'll give it in a second. But the different sections, one of them, you have to do a study. You have to actually do an assessment. And it doesn't have to be written off on by anybody, but his administration has to do an assessment of whether or not a country is screwing us in any sort of trade or any sort of stuff like that. And if they do an assessment and establish that there is in fact a problem, they then can do tariffs. Again, this is powers that have been given to him by Congress and have already been tested in law by Supreme Court. So, yeah, Roberts Court kind of shuts the door. This is obviously showing who's who. We kind of needed to see this. Chief Justice Roberts, the information will be coming out about him. You guys know it. It has to now. He made his choice. He was given the opportunity to do what's right for this country or to work for them. And they threatened to release the information if he doesn't do what they say. They probably threatened worse than that, which is probably true. They probably threatened worse than that. And Trump basically threatened we'll just smear you to smithereens. And the other side, their threat was worse. So he chose which side he's on. And what will happen will happen. The dissent roadmap, again, Kavanaugh, although I firmly disagree with the court's holding today, the decision might not substantially constrain a president's ability to order tariffs going forward. That is because numerous other federal statutes authorize the president to impose tariffs and might justify most, if not all, of the tariffs issued in this case. He's basically telling Trump, yeah, you got another way you can do this, 100%. And the court's going to have an almost impossible time. Kavanaugh was being a fucking rock star. We need Kavanaugh t-shirts made. We need people drawing up cool-ass Kavanaugh memes. We need to make Kavanaugh greater again. Certainly Clarence Thomas as well. And who's the other guy? Right? He's always so quiet, but he's a good one too. We'll find his name eventually. I forgot his name. Whatever. I'd rather be just silent than wrong, I guess, at this point. So yeah, he's moving the global tariffs up. We know that. So here's the kind of the three different sections. I feel like this is why it's worth it, right? So all right, let's see. Down here, yeah. So they're initiating several Section 301 and other investigations to protect our country from unfair trading practices. Yeah, they've got to do investigations when it comes to, and that's what Kavanaugh pointed out, I guess I should say this, specifically the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, Section 232, the Trade Act of 1974, Sections 122, 201, and 301, and the Tariff Act of 1930, Section 338. He spelled out, Kavanaugh did, here's Trump, here's how to do it. So getting into what those things are. Let's see. Today I will sign an order to impose 10% tariff under Section 122 over and above our normal tariffs already being charged. And he raised that up to 15 because legally they're allowed to. So he got a little better information. Kind of surprised he wasn't further along on that, but maybe this caught him a little bit off guard. So the Trade Act of 1974. One is that, of course, signed by President Gerald Ford during the Watergate era. Interestingly, his carrier group is in the Mediterranean. Just got there today. Section 122 authorizes tariffs of up to 15% for 150 days in cases involving large trade surpluses with the United States or other balance of payment concerns. So we got 150 days before some court case is going to come up. Whether he shuts it down, changes it to another, I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but he should already have the proper paperwork from the other sections, and we'll get there. So that's the 1974 Act in general. Section 201 allows the U.S. president to impose temporary safeguard tariffs or quotas on imported goods that cause or threaten serious injury to a domestic industry. We could say that about everything, really, if we have a study. It requires an investigation by the International Trade Commission to determine if increased imports are a substantial cause of injury. Section 301 targets unfair, unreasonable, or discriminatory foreign trade practices that burden or restrict U.S. commerce. So we've got 201 and 301. You think of Europe right there, especially like France, Germany, all them. Section 201, dangerous, China, Taiwan, China, any country we want to use that for because they're underselling the price of our goods. Trade Expansion Act of 1962. It's another option. It was signed into law, 62, as the name implies. It was signed in by Kennedy. Section 232 authorizes the president to impose tariffs or other import restrictions if the Secretary of Commerce finds that certain imports threaten to impair the national security of the United States. Oh, well, they can use that with China for sure. Section 232 of this act, it's already been done, tariffs. Gives the president power to do that. Commerce Department has to consider only traditional military needs, but also broader economic factors, including the health of domestic industries, employment, government revenues, yada, yada. Once Commerce Secretary submits a report finding a national security threat, the president has wide discretion to determine the appropriate response. You see, Trump said this, we've still got this. It's just a bigger pain in the ass. So for anybody that says, why'd you go the way you went to begin with? Because it's way easier. And it should have been legal, frankly. But, all right, it's not. We'll do this. Tariff Act of 1930, Third Avenue, comes from the Tariff Act, also known as the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. I actually remember studying this in school when that name came up. I was like, I remember that name. This protectionist trade measure was signed into law by Herbert Hoover, the president, of course. Section 338 authorizes the president to impose discriminatory tariffs of up to 50% on imports from any country that discriminate against U.S. commerce. Unlike broader trade statutes aimed at systemic imbalances or national security, Section 338 is explicitly retaliatory. It focuses is not emergency powers or economic injury, but unequal treatment of American goods abroad. That's been in since 1930. They can't go against it now. I mean, they might try to get the Supreme Court to say that the judges were wrong in the past. They've done that on some stuff, right? Obviously, the abortion got turned back that way. So, a lot to go. I know I spent a lot of time on it, but I think it's important. U.S. imports from Taiwan surpassed China for the first time in decades, which means we've pushed back on China quite a bit. That is awesome. If cash is king, Berkshire Hathaway is leading the world. They've got a lot of cash, which means they're waiting for an adjustment, let's call it. It's coming, folks. Stock market is all happy. The futures are pretty flat, frankly. Gold and silver are sitting at 51.30. Their futures look up too. Silver was 84.5, 84.56. So again, I think because of what's happening with this tariff stuff and waiting for what Trump was going to do about it, I can't wait to see what happens to the markets Monday. It should be an interesting day to say the least. Folks, look, a lot of stuff's going to get rocky. I actually was wondering recently whether or not that was going to be the case. Personally, I'm quite sure it's not. And the deep state will destroy the economy, and Trump is doing everything he can to lighten that blow. They're not going to do it and they're going to try to blame it on Trump, and it's likely going to tie in with the elections. They're going to have to pull that pin earlier than later. Otherwise, they won't be able to. So we're going to see a bump in the night coming soon, and it's going to be an overnight thing. Some stupid thing's going to be blamed on it. It'll be a black swan event. It'll be made up. Who knows? But in one night, we're going to see a mess. Now, that's why Berkshire Hathaway is holding on to cash, because the day the stock market crashes, they're going to swoop in and buy a bunch of cheap stuff and make a fortune. It's the best way to make money. So if you're prepared for it in that way, I would suggest you make that possible. If you're somebody that's got a 401k or an IRA, that's hard to do. One way, the only way, the best way, I think they're the greatest company. They got multiple suppliers, best customer service that's out there. You will be amazed. They will take care of you through this process. They will help you move as much of your 401k, IRA money as you feel comfortable with. Tax-free, penalty-free, sideways. Then they take that money and they turn it into physical metals. Silver, gold, ratios you figure out. You're protecting your wealth. I've explained that a lot. Today I'm not going to. You're going to protect your wealth. You're going to put that into a trust, into a physical location, and it is yours. And if you ever ask, hey, send me my metals, you have metals they send to you. It's not paper contracts or anything stupid like that. DRSlikesgold.com. DRSlikesgold.com. You got a 401k or an IRA, protect some of that buying power. That's what this is going to do. Because inflation and the deep state, they don't want you to do okay. They're going to do this to try to hurt Trump. I feel bad for pension people. Have a backup plan as best you can, guys. Be like the ant versus the grasshopper. Be the ant. Just squirrel away whatever you can. That's not correct. Ant away whatever you can, whatever the hell it is. DRSlikesgold.com. DRSlikesgold.com. Protect your wealth. Let my friends help you. They're very good at it. They can do it quickly. The prices are actually really good right now, and the stock market's pretty good right now. Take advantage of it. Cash out while you're good. Don't count your money while you're sitting at the table, but DRSlikesgold.com. DRSlikesgold.com. Get out of that system before that system gets out of you. Wow, this is going to be a really long show, isn't it, huh? This movie just looks too cool. I have to play this, so whatever. We'll see what happens if... Oh, yeah, it's probably good to start it here. Check this out. This is, what's this called? It's Pressure. A movie that's coming out with Brandon Fraser. It has to do with the storming the beaches of Normandy. I think many of you people out there are going to be like, dude, that is cool as hell. I thought you might like that. It's interesting. There might be a couple good movies coming out. We've got that Spielberg Disclosure movie coming out. I think this one's coming out sooner this year. Check it out.
Tiger was a training op, dress rehearsal for D-Day. They walked right into it. One mistake. Just that one mistake.
Ike, you have to stop doing this to yourself. What's done is done.
Group Captain Dr. James Stagg, here at the express request of General Eisenhower.
Do we have a date yet for the invasion zone?
D-Day is in 61 hours from now. This is the largest seaborne invasion in history. Fate of the war, thousands of lives hinge on this. I need a forecast. Churchill tells me you're the best meteorologist in the country.
Get me the latest readings from every single base within 2,000 miles of Normandy. The invasion's confirmed for Monday.
Oh, they won't like this.
We are faced with a succession of 2 aggressive storms.
Are you absolutely certain?
D-Day will be calm and sunny.
I couldn't disagree with that more.
If D-Day is cancelled, we will lose this war.
The final decision on the timing of D-Day will be mine, and mine alone.
If you invade tomorrow, they're going to be washed away.
300,000 men with families that they may never see again. Why should I trust you?
We must face the facts! The facts! However frightening they may be!
If we delay,
the enemy will be ready and waiting. They'll slaughter every single last one of us.
The storms that I'm talking about are real, and the wrath of nature is real.
Wow, that's all I can say. Wow, right? Now, again, I think this is looks like an amazing movie, and I'm totally gonna go see it. But it is definitely one of the things that's weird about the consciousness on this planet. Just to give a quick, back kidney punch on this whole thing is they like us to look back on horrific events and remember them and with fondness, right? And it's an energetic thing that's very negative. It's a very negative energetics. This is a horrible time in our history. This particular battle, I mean, again, Saving Private Ryan was a horrific movie. Think of July 4th. I was at 1990-something. Independence Day. Do you guys remember that came out? Do you remember when Independence Day came out? It was like right before July 4th. And it was just this crazy, kind of movie. Like, we're all winning, but of course made aliens look bad. Many people thought it was for the purpose, but it actually was a surprisingly powerful movie. Now, what's funny is the Disclosure movie is supposed to be coming out around that time as well this year. So we've got this crazy Make America Great kind of movie, because that's really what it is. The United States made it possible, and Brandon Fraser and the way that he looks in this particular movie. I don't know if that's how he looks in real life now, poor guy, but he put on some weight for this, obviously. This is going to be an amazing year, guys, and we're actually going to see some stuff evolve forward with us. Some stuff's going to fall through the cracks. Some's going to make it. Whole lot of crazy stuff happening with states. They're stupid. Virtually all countries support photo ID. We'll try that word. Yeah, everybody supports photo ID across the great nation, including Somalia and all these other people. So why are we going to filibuster over this? 85%, basically 71% of Democrats and 95% of Republicans agree with showing an ID and proving citizenship. These are the numbers, yet we are literally going to have an impossible time getting that through Congress. Why is that? Anybody who doesn't vote for this should be tarred and feathered publicly as much as possible. My opinion. Peacefully. Always. Wish no harm on them. Just tar and feather. Embarrass the hell out of them. Meme the shit out of them. Because it's coming. Here's Joe Rogan talking about New York City Mayor Mamdani and giving a little shade. And this dude sucks, man.
The New York proposal is 127 billion, so it is more.
Holy crap.
So New York City their budget is more than the entire state of California with state of Florida with 3 million more people, or 3 times the people.
Holy
proposal, but for this year it would be about the same, because if it's 11 million, that's 116. That's
sure.
The same.
But the point is,
it says it's up 11 billion from the current year.
It's still a proposal, though. He hasn't passed it.
Well, he's not. Yeah, he's a fucking psychopath.
You see
the amount for migrants is crazy. There should be $0 for illegal immigrants.
But
zero.
I don't think you can have zero, because if they're going to be there, they're going to be. You have to feed them. You have to do something with them. Like literally, if you don't feed them, they're going to be robbing stores. They have to. Human beings need food. What are you going to do?
Get them jobs.
How are you going to get a migrant a job?
Get them a job in Guatemala.
Wouldn't you rather give them food than a job? I don't want them taking American citizens' jobs.
Well, the whole thing's a mess.
The whole thing's a mess. But the point is, you can't just throw them away.
Right.
That's the
Unless
problem.
you're going to remove them from the country.
Right. Unless you remove them, even if you want to put them in jail, that's not cheap.
Right. That costs a lot of money.
Right. So what are you going to do? I remember.
He makes a weird point. I have no idea why he did this strangeness to his face. I don't even know who this dude is. But that said, we're in a weird situation. You can't just we're not giving you money. Okay, well then crime instantly kicks up, and maybe that's the way you round up some of them. We've tried to get people to kind of combine with each other, but yeah, we'll see how this plays out. This is going to be interesting. They're going to force people to kind of identify themselves, and I think a lot of these protective statuses are going to change. So obviously they may not have as easy a chance to stay in this country. Mamdani requires snow shovel volunteers to show 2 forms of ID and a social security card. They actually say you got to show one other thing that I don't even think I could produce. 2 small photos, 1.5-inch square. I have 0 of those in my house right now. There's no chance in hell I have a friggin' printed out photo of my stupid face that size. I don't get wallet photos anymore like I did back in. Maybe this is all people that are in high school that are doing this. You say you have to be 18, so it can't be that. Who's getting pictures done? Where do you get a fucking picture every year or recently? That's stupid. Nicki Minaj having fun. She says today in more, clearly it's a psyop. Newsom's wife, this is the first thing, and Weinstein, reported ex-lover, a gal, I guess, had a clear and extreme case of Trump derangement syndrome. She always seems to be describing her hubby to a T when she speaks on Trump. Could this be her subconscious way of telling hubby how she really feels about him under the guise of nonsensical tantrums aimed at the president whenever deflecting needs to be done on the world stage? Recommendation: rest for the next 3 years and out of public life forever. That's very interesting. She's basically saying, Newsom's wife, are you just pissed off at Newsom and this is why you are saying what you're saying? It's a little passive-aggressive thing. And of course, obviously, Gavin knows you're speaking of him because he's such a douche, which I believe he is. And I don't feel bad for you at all because you're all part of the same nonsense. 2, Newsom has been paying people to protest. Yeah, don't say That is right. Out of the left playbook. I'm so good at speaking street, right? Yeah, don't say. Anyway, they also are known to pay people to pose as fans outside on sidewalks asking for autographs. Could this be what was happening in Minnesota? Could those protesters have been paid actors too? Recommendation, bring me more on this so that we can properly lay out the last decade of them exhibiting this loser behavior. 3, rules for thee, not for me. Looks like 3 pieces of ID are required to shovel snow. Yep. No ID to vote, but yes on ID to shovel snow. Recommendation, Save America Act. And finally, for the big one for today, people who stole billions from taxpayers are now demanding reparations for their pain and suffering. Haha. Recommendation, sign me up. Sign me up for this free money. Yeah, no shit. All of us should get some of that. Right? If that's what we're going to do. That's this Jasara right there. Everybody gets free money because they feel like they've been harmed. Oakland Mayor, she supported defunding the police. She had her government car stolen from the actual city hall location. They found it. I got it back, whatever. I don't think they caught anyone. Los Angeles Fire Department allegedly revealed plans to protect Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass and others, like the fire department and others, from any bad publicity. So again, they had it baked into the report. We got to make sure we keep her protected because this looks bad, so we don't want it to look bad because she does such a damn good job on her own. Here's someone that does a really good job talking about the fire stuff in Palisades, and I think we're moving forward in a big way. Man, it's going to be a long show. Sorry, guys.
Massive news on the Palisades fire lawsuit as the judge has overruled the city and the state's demurs and is allowing the case to move forward. That means discovery time. Until now, our attorneys have had to fight for any information from state and local agencies about their failures on the fire because there's been a stay on discovery for nearly a year. Think about every insane thing we've already learned about what went wrong with the fire. That was all just me and my lawyers digging, wearing out the shoe leather. That was all without the ability to get records and testimony from public officials or the text messages that Karen Basura deleted after the fire. Well, now the floodgates are open and we're about to learn everything. Also, because our attorneys have done such an outstanding job with this case, the city of Malibu now sees that this case is a winner and they've joined in the dog pile. They are now suing Karen Basura and Gavin Newsom for the city and state's role in creating this disaster that destroyed half of their town. So in case you've not been keeping track, we've got 30 plus insurance companies, utilities like Spectrum, the city of Malibu, all now suing Gavin Newsom for the Palisades fire. In fact, even Karen Basura has joined us in suing Gavin Newsom for the fire. Her own LA city attorney came away from fighting us in court and said, damn, they've got a good case. We should join them. And now they intend to seek damages from the state of California too. You know what that means, right? That means everyone, even Karen Basura and the city of LA themselves, have dropped the lie that the destruction of the Palisades was because of climate change. Why would they sue Gavin Newsom if it were the climate? They never believed it. They knew the hurricane force wind narrative was a lie. They knew they were lying and they thought it would work. They thought they could wear us down. But now that the rubber is meeting the road in court, the real truth is coming out. So here's to all you haters who tried to get us to quit. Here's to all the goblins who celebrated my house burning down and blamed me for it. Here's to all the supplicant media hacks who tried slandering us and called me a wacko. Eat your words. I will never stop fighting for my people. That's the kind of man I am. That's the man I was raised to be. That's the kind of mayor I will be for LA. I'm like Larry H. Parker, man. I will fight for you. I don't care who you put me up against. I will not back down. Gavin Newsom can't stop me. His attorney tried real hard to get our case thrown out. Gavin called us opportunistic plaintiffs and conspiracy theorists. Well, now, after a year of fighting this incompetent, corrupt, and unscrupulous, lying governor, our case just got the green light. We get discovery now. You hear that, Gavin? That's the high-speed rail of justice coming for you, boy. Choo-choo, justice is coming.
I love the fact that we've got people that are running that actually might win, especially if we get a free and fair election. Larry H. Parker, a very funny reference. Only people that probably have grown up in Southern California even know that reference. It's kind of like Pete Ellis Dodge. Long Beach Freeway, Firestone exit, Southgate. Oh my God. Some of you guys know that. Very few of you do. But yeah, a couple of you just went, oh shit, I remember that. Like I said, commercials. I was programmed as a child to be this way. Trust me, I don't know what it is. My life is, I'm just focused on the way. Anyway, California, we suck. Holy crap, it's just been confirmed that California Democrat government is paying leftist protesters over $100 million, a jaw-dropping amount of funds that go to anti-American causes. Literally, they want to raise taxes. They're starving for money. You guys are just giving money away. Cam Higbee, a Chirla, I guess is his company, Chirla, they have taken over $100 million alone in taxpayer funds, according to state expenditure website. Based on the website, Chirla's primary function is protest-related activities and left-wing advocacy. They have been protesting and advocating since 1986 and take credit for some of Newsom's policies. $100 million. It's just one spot, by the way. And you know there's a whole bunch of things like that. Where there's smoke, there's frick tons of fire. School district is demanding $1.2 million to see contracts before voters consider a budget. They want to actually see the paperwork. And they're like, it would take us 80,000 hours to undo the redact 2.5 million email addresses. Fucking just redact the whole top of all pages. Who gives a shit? Again, they're saying it would cost them $1.2 million. This is what they want to charge the person asking for this information. First off, I don't need it printed. You can throw it in an email if you want, PDF it. That's free as hell. That save all sorts of... But again, this is the kind of nonsense. Where is this? Rhode Island. A Rhode Island taxpayer is asking to see contracts between her local schools and the regional authority on matters such as information technology and records management ahead of the March vote. We want to see how much money you guys are blowing on stupid shit like that. This is people doing it locally. This is a great idea of how you can get involved locally. Get involved in your city hall. They're wasting your money at a local level and start to expand out. We have to fix our world. Illinois official got more than $300,000 from the trucking industry while his agency gave licenses. This is the Illinois Secretary of State, supposedly getting money from the trucking industry in donations and allowing all sorts of extra CDL, commercial driver's licenses, being given out of his wonderful state. Illinois, once again. Think of the states that are the worst right now. It's the deepest blue states are the most corrupt. No doubt. The most corrupted states with the most amounts of fraud are the deep blue states. This is going to affect voting. This is big time going to affect voting. Everyone keeps talking about Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat. You're not thinking about this properly. Those are not the two choices. It's MAGA versus establishment. That is what these elections will be about. And we'll raise the people up that need to be raised up. We've got enough of you guys that have state-specific channels where you can actually help some people get a voice. And you're not FCC required to give equal time. That's one thing that's beautiful about this type of format. Unless you're broadcasting it on your ham radio, then yes, you would. And then they're going to come at you and say, you've got to give the Democrats equal time, which do it. Be fun. Make for a great radio show. Donald Trump tweeted this. Illinois, they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars in trying to bail out Obama's badly delayed and tremendously over budget library, end quotes. The neighborhood is angry as hell, and it's a total disaster. Yeah, his library looks stupid. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker sends an invoice to President Trump demanding $8.6 billion in refunds following the Supreme Court tariff ruling. I just think it's funny as hell. Like he thinks all the higher costs and everything are attributed to the tariffs. So this is fantastic. Now, what this does do in a weird way that's really bad that Pritzker's too stupid to realize is it demonstrates how high prices have gotten in Illinois specifically. And he's highlighting that, but it's not actually Trump's fault, and that'll be very easy to prove. It'll be easier to prove that it's the energy costs, the rent costs, those costs are what are destroying these numbers in Illinois and causing the higher food prices and everything else, because other parts of the country aren't paying that much, oddly. So this will be easy to disprove, and it's going to make Pritzker look bad, because he's a low IQ individual. Speaking of low IQ individuals, imagine if Californians received a refund for all the tax dollars spent on illegal aliens. Think about that. If we as taxpayers in California could write off the money our state wasted on illegal things because they shouldn't have done it, whether they did or didn't is irrelevant. They shouldn't have. And because of that, state, you will be penalized by us, the people. And we'll get to write off whatever amount of taxes that is. And, well, probably a lot. And rather than having to pay a refund, because I get that might be problemsome, we would just have a credit where we wouldn't have to pay taxes at all for years, probably. I would think. I don't know. It's an interesting idea that's floating around out there right now. More than 600 criminal cases are going to be dismissed in Multnomah County, landmark ruling from the Oregon Supreme Court. Because they don't have enough public defenders, they're just going to let people free. Oregon, telling you. Kentucky Governor Andy Bashar supports child gender mutilations in the state. This is Kentucky. This is why we've got Massey. This is why we've got McConnell. Kentucky, y'all need to get some stuff. Are you sure you're north of the Dixie line? You sure?
I'm going to stand up against discrimination in any form, regardless of how it polls in Kentucky or anywhere else, because it's the right thing to do. So I vetoed every anti-LGBTQ bill that's come across my desk in Kentucky. I've vetoed every anti-DEI bill that's come across my desk in Kentucky. And I've done that because it's the right thing to do. And you only get so much time in this job. You ought to be doing the right thing every time.
You're a douche. That's what I think. So I guess when you got a heavily Republican Senate and House in a state, you end up with a Democrat governor, right? That's how that works. And then your House and Senate are totally rhinoed up, which Kentucky's totally got going on. Kentucky is very old-fashioned, like thumbs in the suspenders kind of place. That's all I'm saying. People. Trump is a little pissed, but whatever, of course. Says based on lack of support, in particular for the unbelievable successful tariffs imposed on foreign countries and companies that has made America richer, stronger, bigger, and better than ever before, I am hereby withdrawing my endorsement of Rhino Congressman Jeff Hurd of Colorado's 3rd District and fully endorsing highly respected patriot Hope Scheppelman. So, Colorado, if you guys are in that district, the 3rd District, please help push this individual across the finish line. You don't have to necessarily poll or anything like that. I, in fact, like to leave them in the dark when they're trying to figure these things out. But Hope Scheppelman is who you want. You no longer want the other person. Hope Scheppelman. It's great. Sounds like a drink, right? Schnapps, Scheppelman. I'd like a Scheppelman Rumps. I don't know. It sounds like a drink. Make it up. Make it happen. Probably got Rumplements in there. That's what I was figuring. But I don't know. I mean, I've had some bad nights on that. So part of it's just like, ugh. But, you know, and cocoa and stuff. Anyway. House Judiciary Chair Jim Jordan, he's suggesting Minnesota officials assisted billions in welfare. They knew there was whistleblowers. They were ignoring them. They knew. They assisted. That's treasonous, or if not, RICO, racketeering, all that kind of stuff. It's certainly conspiracy. Guys, I mean, if this is totally going to blow off the rails, and maybe that's what's happening, I don't know. It's so bad. I think some are going to make it, and I think those that can't get on board are going to go down with the ship. Even the dirty ones, that if they can't get on board and stop being dirty, then they're done in a lot of ways, and it's going to end funny for different people. Portland anti-ICE agitator faces 20 years in prison for assaulting federal agents with large rock. Yeah, but he'll be let out immediately, and or won't be able to get a public defender and will be released also. So, yeah, yay, but wah, wah, wah. It's not going to happen, guys. Todd Blanche, here we go again. EDVA judges do not pick our U.S. attorney. So they did this the second time. POTUS does. James Hundley, you are fired. So, yeah, I guess he was appointed by a court. He's been fired. I can't wait till they sue on that, because that's like solid law. That's in the Constitution. This is crazy shit that's going on. Susan Rice is saying some weird-ass stuff, basically saying that they're going to totally come after anybody when they get power again. Again, they're not going to. Donald Trump even had comments, Netflix should fire racist Trump deranged Susan Rice immediately or pay the consequences. She's got no talent or skills, purely a political hack. Her power's gone and will never be back. It's true. How much is she being paid and for what? And again, this whole thing with Netflix is very important. Netflix, Obama's heavily invested in this. And they turned down that Paramount option because Netflix need this. They need the control. They need the studios. They need to be able to keep making their stupid movies. If they're kept from doing that. And so this is kind of like what Musk did. He offered a deal to Twitter that they couldn't say no to. It was significantly higher than the other offer, and they wanted to take the other offer. This is the exact same thing. It is them losing control of a mechanism of influencing people. Remember, Obama's the one that changed that you can propagandize to your own people. It's exactly what they're doing at Netflix. Guys, I'm telling you, this is all going down in Chinatown. It's awesome. It's good times. We're living large right now. Yeah. Bill and Hillary Clinton to testify next week in New York for their House Oversight Committee on the Epstein probe. No reason it's just stupid. It's not worth the time. It was Bill Maher trying to make himself look appropriate, and I shouldn't even be playing it. As Trump told us to stop playing it anyway, right? Not that I do everything I'm told, but the Education Department scraps unconstitutional race preferences in a federal PhD grant program. Again, they're digging through everything. I guess this is the McNair Post-Baccalaureate Achievement Program. It's just ignoring a lot of people that they tend to, unless extenuating circumstances are appropriated. That's the only way that's allowed. New FBI memo confirms 2022. Just the news report on Biden involved the raid in Trump Mar-a-Lago property. Supposedly Biden was directly involved in the decision to do the raid, which is pretty fantastic when you think about the big picture on that. Like, they keep saying that, Trump's telling the Justice Department what they should do. And yeah, it's all coming out that Biden was doing the same thing. And also Obama was doing the same thing still, for that matter, probably doing to some degree. They've just fired most of the people that had anything to do with it. Texas DPS drone detects an illegal border crossing. So we've got drones flying over. Apparently we're paying attention to what's happening. We managed to catch some traffickers. This lady had like 7 armbands, which implies a lot of different handoffs for the these are the different cartels handing it off to other cartel members, and they've got very specific armbands. They know the colors. They know what the days are that the colors should be there, yada, yada. So anybody showing up with something that's counterfeit is probably killed on the spot. They don't mess around. That much we know. Again, OTF special, guys, there's a lot of us that are overweight. And I'm going to tell you, feeling great is a funny thing. I like today, again, weekends are funny, and my whole situation gets changed because of weekends. There's more of a schedule on Monday through Friday that's easier for me to follow. And for some reason, Saturdays and Sundays are just kind of different. Gym opens later. There's a whole lot of slew. It's just a bunch of crap. It just messes my whole day up. OTFspecial.com. That helps me feel great. It was funny. It was before I even got started in doing the research this morning. I went down and had a little bit of my yummy Unimate. I love it. I freaking love it. I feel great after I drink it. It gives me energy. It makes me feel good. It helps me with fasting because sometimes I might be a little hungry in the morning, but I don't really want to eat. Sometimes I get heartburn, whatever, right? So this is kind of helping me get myself to where I like to be and stay where I like to be. Now, people that are overweight, you do 2 Unimates a day. You're just mixing it with water. It's delicious. Tastes like basically iced tea with lemon. It's delicious, I think. Like that Crystal Light iced tea with lemon. If you guys have ever tried that before, it's what it tastes like to me. Exactly. I love it. It's delicious. I love it. Like I power down the thing and I'm like, woo, sweet. I do 2 of those a day, right? And again, energy, it helps with the fasting. So it's good for any of you guys that are actually trying to lose a little weight. And then you do balance. Is the one you drink right before dinner. Now that one you don't want to like mix it and then just leave it lying around. It actually thickens, like it helps fill your stomach up with a fibrous material. It's totally healthy. But what it also does is it creates kind of like a, pardon the pun, but sort of a foamy environment, if you will. And then when you eat food, your regular dinner, you do this right before you eat dinner, your food kind of drops down into the foam and it gets that stuff on it. And with that stuff on it, your body actually digests a lot of that caloric content differently. Now, a lot of it's going to pass more through you and not necessarily get absorbed. And so there's some science at work that are helping you actually process fewer carbohydrates. That's a big part of what's going on with our diets. We got all these crazy carbohydrates. So it's caused a lot of insulin resistance. 94% of us are experiencing that. And because of that, it's making it very difficult for us to be healthy. So OTFspecial.com, OTFspecial.com, get you to the Feel Great program. This stuff is incredible. I love it. Love it. And I've got all sorts of people in my own audience. This is another individual just came out today. Hopefully, Paula, she says, hey, Kaysen, it's one of the guys that's helping me out. There's just 2 gentlemen. They're just lovely. The Unimate is easy to use, and it fits into a macro diet that I'm already familiar with. I've lost 5.5 pounds, and it gets easier every day. I don't crave snacks or carbs like I used to. And because of fasting, I'm no longer sneaking any late night treats while watching movies. The balance that I take with my last meal helps to make me feel full and satisfy any other foods I want to add on. Thanks for checking up on me, Paula. And that's kind of what Case and these guys are really cool. They like to follow up with some people. How's things going? And that's what's going on. We're going to hear from Carla here. Actually, Claudia. Yes. We're going to hear from Claudia today. And her story, again, it's just so many people's stories. We are overweight as a society. Most of us. You want to lose 5 pounds? You want to lose 100 pounds. I'm telling you, this is the process to get there. You got diabetes, pre-diabetes, even close to diabetes, where they're even talking about it with you. This will change your sugar levels significantly. Do it before your next test. Well, days before, weeks before, and you'll be amazed. The doctor will be like, what are you doing differently? And be careful on how you answer. There's nothing illegal with this. It's perfectly healthy. You're going to keep doing everything else the same. Keep taking your meds the same. Don't change anything. But you're going to notice all your numbers change, and they're going to start taking you off of meds. I've got examples of that already. This product's incredible.
At age 50, my doctor kept wanting me to take a statin. I didn't want to. And finally, he talked me into trying Lipitor. It was new on the market. And within 3 weeks, I woke up one morning and I did not have legs. I could not stand. It turned out to be neuromuscular disorder. I gained like 59 pounds in 3 weeks. That's when I became type 2 diabetic. The blood sugars went sky high and they never came back down. I wanted to die. I was hurting so bad. Of course, was on metformin. And then another year after that, I started the Trulicity. I met a new doctor that I had never seen before. And she walked in the room and abruptly said, your A1C is 10.4. And I came home. I was sitting back in my bedroom and I was very depressed, very upset. I picked up my iPad and I was looking on Facebook, and someone had posted a TikTok video of Yvette talking about this protocol. And I said, what have I got to lose? I ordered it that day. I started on it on October the 11th last year. By December, I had to quit taking the Trulicity because my blood sugars were going too low. And by that time, I had lost 37 pounds and my A1C was 5.1. I felt so much better too. So in January was when I actually started working on the fasting. I'm off of all medicine. My cholesterol was always like 386. Now, as of April, it was 226.
It's amazing what this is doing for people. Again, I've got examples from my own audience, and I haven't been talking about this product that long. It will change your life, and you will feel great. You'll feel great with the results you're seeing, but you feel great also. It's amazing. OTFspecial.com. OTFspecial.com. Again, 3 cups of water a day that's got some stuff in it that's delicious. Do nothing else different. That's all you got to do. That's all you're asked of. Now, to lead into things likely, but those are your choices. Those are different. OTFspecial.com. OTFspecial.com. Longest show in the history of Dan. Right here. Let's see. Deputy Commissioner Kyle Diamantes. There's this rumor going around that major reversal. Trump's administration retreats on plans to ban artificial colors in food and significantly loosens FDA labeling requirements. Not true. The FDA, Kyle D., whoever this is, a commissioner guy, says it could not be further from the truth. This administration has addressed a roadblock that prohibited companies using natural colors from highlighting that fact on labeling. Under the old way, companies that used only natural colors were forced to call them artificial when making labeling claims, creating consumer confusion and disincentivizing use. Fixing this issue will help companies continue to transition to using natural color alternatives as part of the industry-wide phase-out. Meaning, instead of having to label a natural food additive as an artificial, because that was all there was to choose from, they caused people to favor artificial. It was a nonsense that the FDA was doing. They're fixing it, so they're not turning back on anything. Apparently, Americans tested a popular brand, Tom's toothpaste. I was using this for a while, and I didn't stop because of this, but this bothers me. But at the same time, maybe it's why life showed me that I shouldn't be using it, so I switched. But yeah, a lot of people probably using Tom's. If you want to go old school, man, just baking soda. Mix in some flavor of some kind if you need to, but baking soda and put that on a thing, a little water, and dude, it's salty, it's bitter, it's kind of weird, but it works extraordinarily well. It works very, very well. It's like a safe abrasive. It's like, like a soft scrub on your teeth, basically, but don't use soft scrub. I'm saying that's what baking soda basically is. Again, I don't do that. It's freaking nasty. But yeah, all that said. So yeah, they're a lot of lead. 50 times higher than what's allowed. Arsenic tested 81 times higher. Cadmium tested 9 times higher. So, probably not a good idea to keep using Toms if you are, or, at least dig into it a little bit. Trump truth this. Working with fantastic governor of Louisiana, Jeff Landry, we are going to send a great hospital boat to Greenland to take care of the many people who are sick and not being taken care of there. Weird. But we're obviously trying to look really cool to them right now, and I didn't realize they were going through any sort of sickness, so that's how bad that is. We don't even care, right? If you guys were the 51st state, though, shoot, we'd know. We'd know there's this crazy state that everyone's getting sick, and it kind of sneezes. Japan's investing $36 billion in literal actual money. There's promises made, so all these hundreds of billions of dollars, trillions of dollars in investment that needs to be turned into projects, but they're like, we'll do that. So Japan's going to be building a energy company that uses natural gas to power it. It is going to be a giant 9.2 gigawatt size producer of electricity. So again, power is happening. They're breaking ground, I think, in Ohio someplace. So again, ground is being broken. Many projects are going to be going. These things will be started before the elections also, so it can be demonstrated. Look at all this stuff that's literally being built. Deep state's screwed. There's no chance in hell. Oh yeah, some crap from Europe. UK's mulling removing ex-Prince Andrew from royal succession. I didn't realize that was an extra thing they had to do once his brother, I guess, right? Isn't the king his brother? I believe so. Anyway, this is the Queen's kids, and they are a mess. So all that said, whatever. Well, England. Sorry, my one friend that tends to message with me often. I feel for you guys. You guys are nuts right now. I hope you guys get this figured out. They're actually saying Farage isn't necessarily a good guy, so I don't even know what's going on there. So I'm kind of wondering. Like I said, I'm going to keep my mind open to that, but swear to God, if Farage isn't good for you guys, you guys are screwed then. So it kind of feels like what people used to say about Trump. But I don't know. I don't know what's happening, and it's not my job to figure it out, frankly. Muslims are surround a Christian preaching the gospel in an East London street. A literal police department had to come in and kind of stop it. And the Muslims were saying, this is Muslim area. This is our area. This is our territory. They're not allowed to do this here. So God bless the lady who was in there preaching the gospel in front of Muslims. Damn, that's more than just riding a bike around and saying, have you heard the good word? That's some serious shit. Syria is asking Germany not to deport its citizens back home, fearing it would make the country unsafe. Think about that for a second. Don't send our own people back to us. It'll make us unsafe. No, you keep those unsafe people. In fact, those are the people we've forced out of here. That's how Australia got created, by the way, Mike, right? All y'all, that's how Australia got created. They literally exported their criminals. And they just be like, all right, send you down there there's crocodiles and there's killer mosquitoes and killer hummingbirds and, giant spiders and everything. Lions, tigers, bears. Oh my. Yeah. I don't know if any of those things actually exist. Lions, no. I don't think. Tigers, no. Bears. I don't know if you guys have any bears down there. Koala bear, maybe? I don't even know if you have those. I don't think so. But everything kills you in Australia. Everything. Pollen probably is deadly. Oh, God, my eye! You just die. Right there, instant. Pollen. Shit, man. It's crazy down there. You gotta wear special clothes or something. Ukraine strikes key Russian missile factory. As Zelensky declares, we're definitely not losing the war. Yeah, they did. They attacked. By the way, it made me realize that I don't think Australia is ever going to reach out to me for their tourist board. Be like, damn, we want to use your voice. You're like Mick Dundee. No, they'll never say that because I've scared everyone from going down there. The deadly air. Anyway, I want to go there so bad. Australian people are cool as hell. And it seems like an interesting territory where literally everything can kill you. Ford Carrier Group enters Mediterranean to join the biggest U.S. buildup since. So the Ford Carrier, we're talking about that Ford law, oddly too. But that's coincidence, I'm sure, just the way the world works. And sometimes you just know you're where you're supposed to be. I think that's what this is. But yes, the USS Gerald R. Ford apparently has entered the Mediterranean. Remember how we were talking about it's preparing to leave. It's getting ready. They're filling it up. How sometimes you gotta, when you're topping the tank off and it keeps popping before it's supposed to. Unless you're in Oregon, you have no idea how to pump gas unless you're that very special individual. I think there's another state or two that does that. It's stupid as hell, right? No, needless to say, they left already. They were like, we're here. We just wanted you all to think we're just dicking off. Yeah, we got all the Marines jerking off over the side just to make sure, give the seagulls something to do. U.S. military is spotted at Portugal's Lajes Air Base in America's ramp-up. So Portugal, they're letting us borrow. Spain, fuck you. I don't know how to say that in Spanish. But, chinga tu madre, my president or prime minister or whatever you are over there. That was mean, but, whatever. I'm probably going to get banned in Spain now. I can't ever go to España. Portugal's Lajes Air Base, they've accepted some C-17. We got a bunch of them there, guys. Don't mind the stupid little plane in front. I don't know what that is. That might be like one of our Coast Guard planes for some reason. It's like, we're here to protect aircraft, which might be what they're there for, literally to protect the planes. But there's a bunch of our planes right here. I think these are the C-5s, too. I believe so. Those are giant. The whole front opens up, the back opens up. They can drive M1 Abrams tanks into these things. I don't know if they're loaded right now. I doubt it. But we have a bunch of firepower in that part of the world. We're about to get serious. Tucker Carlson had Ambassador Mike Huckabee on. I just want to touch a couple of these points. I don't want to play the stuff. It's way too long, way too much. And I've already so long. It's the longest show ever. U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee says it would be fine for Israel to take over the entire Middle East because God gave them the land. It would be fine if they took it all. Now, I don't know who Bricks News wrote this, so they probably should have tried to capitalize God, but I get why they might not have, so whatever. I don't want to have to go off on that tangent. All that said, I just think it's interesting. There's a bold statement to make there. All of that said, he says because the Christian book says, and the Jewish book, which the Christians adopted because you guys were kind. But the Jews never accepted Jesus as anything other than a teacher, right? A guru, if you will. It's kind of interesting. Yet we decided that they deserved the land because of those pieces of literature that are very old. There was a continuation. He says, I have to admit, this is Tucker, I think. This is what I have a problem with most. And Mike Huckabee struggled to give a clear answer. Again, I 6 minutes would be worth hearing it, but I can't. He said, who are the people in the Bible to whom God promised the land of Israel as belonging to Abraham's descendants? It's a very good question, right? Abraham, who became the Israel. So who are these descendants today? And I'm not trying to pretend to be an expert. I am not an expert on the Bible. Not even close. Still got a ways to go to get through it. Who are these descendants today, and how do we know who they are? How do we know they're the same people? That's an amazing question, right? These people, it's kind of like I'm from slaves. Like, are you? How do you know? Did you actually have slaves in your past? And they're like, no, not really. I actually grew up in a nice area. So this idea of we just promise this group because they happen to, because the Belfort Accord exists there. And again, I would wonder, and this is one thing, I haven't been able to find this answer, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful in any way, but I wonder when the first Old Testament text showed up with Israel happening. I wonder when that was, because I'm suspicious that happened not horribly long ago. I think that's an edit that was made. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Again, not trying to be a dick. It's just one of the... There's just weird how much power we give these people, and we say, you control it. There's 3 major religions are in this area, and we've decided that one of them gets to control it all. Now, where people are anti-Israel, I feel like that's a really wrong way to say it. I'm anti-establishment. Israel represents a key part of it. I feel, and I've talked a little bit about recently, and bringing it up again, the fourth leg, right? DC, London, Vatican, and Israel, Tel Aviv. It's the hidden Mossad. It's the hidden intelligence. It's the hidden hand or the hidden leg in my analogy of stool. Tucker also followed up with Abraham's descendants are the ones with the right to have this land, correct? And Huckabee says yes. Tucker says, why don't we genetically test everybody on the land to find out exactly who Abraham's descendants are? Which, again, I'm not okay with genetically testing people. If you feel like you deserve it of that, maybe, right? But Huckabee says, I have no idea what that would prove, right? Like, if you're a descendant of Abraham's land, then maybe you are allowed to sort of be in charge. But if you're just somebody that claims to be, again, many wonder about the what the Akanashi or whatever they're called, the Jews specifically, and or the Khazarians, which is kind of the easier way. But there's this sect, and I'm not trying to become an expert in it. It's not something I've dug super deep on. I just get that there's layers within the deep state, and that for me is sufficient. So I apologize for not being more well versed in the particular nuances of the Jewish religion. Chinese generals are laying low during the Lunar New Year as purge fear grips military analysts. One, they're very superstitious about the New Year, so you don't want to put yourself in a place where you're going to mess it up. You're celebrating something that you might not, it wouldn't look good. But she is clearing some people out, and there's many people that think she is trying to destroy the deep state within China as well, the CCP. So we will see, and if the CCP have killed as many millions of people that we're hearing rumor of, then she is probably trying to save his people. But the deep state control the apparatus is amazing. The big brother state in China is very far along. It's what the whole world was supposed to go to. It is the training of their AI, if you will. So yeah, messed up stuff. I got some scandals to talk about. Kind of crazy stuff going on. Millionaire fashion company co-founder dies. He was apparently fell from a 17th floor balcony of his luxury condo. Interesting. Quentin Griffiths, co-founder of fashion company ASOS in 2000, fell 17 stories from the room. Typically a Russian thing, I think. So again, that opera song, right? The one that we always refer to from Sum of All Fears, right? This is, I don't know, falling. That's a very Russian way, I think, a very Russian way of dealing with a problem. They have typical stereotype, like heart attacks and like hanging off doorknob. Like there's just a lot of very specifics. Very interesting one. This is different. A renowned scientist who contributed to the discovery of water on a distant planet was mysteriously shot and killed on his front porch of his desert California home. Now, someone did some sweet-ass digging on this, and I want this sweetheart she gets the credit on this 100%. It's a minute and 11 seconds long. I love that. I don't know who she is per se, but check this chick out. This is some really deep, strange connections to Bob Lazar she's pulling out.
Update on Carl Grillmeyer, the Caltech astrophysicist that was murdered just hours after President Trump told the government to release the alien files. Turns out that he also went to Caltech for graduate school, the same place that Bob Lazar said that he went to graduate school. And what do you know? They're the same age. They're both 67, so they would have gone to school together. It's also important to note that NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory is at Caltech. And don't forget, in 1989, Bob Lazar claimed that he worked at Area 51, where he was using an unknown element, element 115, to fuel jet propulsion. They called him crazy because there was no such thing as element 115, of course, until 15 years later when it was discovered in 2004. I just have to wonder if these two were friends. And what could Carl have possibly known? And why was he murdered? I'd love to ask him, but as Bill Gates would say,
well, he's dead, so, in general, you always have to be careful.
So there's that. As always, I want to hear what you think about all of this down below.
Yeah, down below. Do we get to tease it down below? Couple finds blood-stained gloves in the desert home near missing Nancy Guthrie, right? Or Guthrie. I like to say it still that way. Oh, yeah. Why did you? Hurt our relationship. Don't like that at all. I think she's mad at me too. I don't even know. But a Tucson couple, they said they found a pair of blood-stained gloves and rock, dried blood. Like, this is just weird. This is a mile from their home. People are walking around. They see a black glove in the middle of the desert that's got blood on it, apparently. Yeah, that doesn't seem weird at all. A mile away from the home. Like, what, just the glove got too heavy? Struggling carrying this individual through the desert? Are you shitting me? Come on. You're not going to go walking miles into the desert with someone? And you're going to sit there and look for foliage to cover the camera that you... Really? You didn't have a better escape plan? This is, if anything, this is meant to put people on the wrong chase. I got, what are they, What is it, a red herring? That's basically what it is. Like a fake thing to look for. A decoy. Ooh, it just doesn't feel right. Private investigator claims cartel is behind this Nancy Guthrie abduction. So again, it's just, who knows? I freaking don't know. I honestly don't care. I don't care anymore, personally. I share it because I feel like it's something stupid at this point, so I'm almost invested into finding out what the hell actually happens. But I feel like she's dead. She's probably dead. I mean, I'm ready for that. I don't mean any disrespect to this Today Show host chick, but I mean, no offense to you, sweetheart, and your family. I hope you guys get through this. Your mom was old as hell, so this all just seems stupid. Maybe you're trying to sell a book. I just feel like there's something weird. This just doesn't feel right. Just something doesn't feel right on this. Why? Like now we've got the stupid the cartels involved. Now the cartels are stealing this late and asking for $1 million in Bitcoin or 2 million, 5 million, 6 million. What? Really? This whole thing is stupid. That's all I can say. It's stupid. The ski guides killed in Lake Tahoe avalanche. They found the additional bodies that were missing. They ended up to all be working for the company that was out there guiding them. They were the guides to keep them safe. It's also, it's not a good place. What, the Donahoe party or what was it? The Donahoe Pass? I feel like I'm saying it wrong. Whatever. That pass that's supposed to be there. That's where these people basically died. It was that area, oddly. I wish I could remember the name of that properly. We were just talking about it this morning, and again, names. It hurts me. Donahoe. It's up by Truckee. But anyway, it was close to where that famous name should be that I should be able to remember that I can't. It's okay. It's all right, Dan. Just accept that you are fallible. This is fun. So California Governor Gavin Newsom wants to ban teens under the age of 16 from social media. I love this. They can't vote, so he doesn't give a shit. And I think it's a great idea, frankly. I don't think kids should be allowed to use social media. I don't think they should. I think they should have to ask questions and learn shit. And then you can get involved in the universe of the World Wide Web when you're older. And maybe you'll see it every once in a while at families where their parents don't care about their children, but this household does, right? You'll have those comments. It'll be fun. Conversations. All said, yeah. There's no way they're going to do this. And they're going to try to do the mandatory ID verification. I've heard they're supposed to be doing that with Discord, which I'm wondering about because it's something I use for the stupid video game thing every once in a while that I play. And I don't like the idea of proving my ID, especially to some stupid app like that. So, man. We'll see. Weird times are trying to push those digital IDs. We know that. American was working 2 jobs, always paid her taxes. She works 2 low-paying jobs and struggling, even though food stamps, yada, yada. Long story short, this chick wasn't paying her taxes and because she needed the money, and she's probably one of these people that believes that you don't have to pay taxes, and who's going to matter? Here's the thing. They found her immediately, and they've got programs that do this very easily. You stop paying or stop filing, you show up you instantly have red flags. You pop up instantly. And they just started garnishing her wages, 25% or whatever. Now she can't afford to pay stuff because they're garnishing her wages. This is what happens, guys. The deep state, the IRS is not owned by Trump. It is not part of the government. It is a private organization. They will come after you. Franchise tax board too, by the way, for the states at least my state. They will find you too. I don't know if they're private. I'm curious about that now. I don't know if they're private or if they're somehow tied into the government. That's a good question. I know IRS is not. Amazon Cloud Unit was taken down twice by its own AI tools, were being reported. We don't know if it's true for sure. Amazon's basically saying that's not true. I mean, there was code that was created by their AI, but they state that a normal coder would have made this mistake possibly too. But yeah, the AI has pushed code on its own without proper checks and balances. 4 eyes, we'd frequently call it, or we would do reviews of the software, always testing, make sure that it doesn't do anything weird. But AI you can't really test it because your test environment's never going to be like the real world. And when the real world happens, it's an overwhelming amount of information compared to your test environment. So it's tricky, is one way to look at it. Yeah, these tools that they use to write code for themselves automatically. And it brought down AWS, not necessarily Amazon, the shopping. It's AWS, which is their hugest amount of money. They make gobs of money off AWS. So it's why a lot of companies will go down. You won't be able to log in because AWS is the back end of a lot of the login scripts and screens that you go to when you go to Twitter, when you go to a lot of these Cloudflare, that's by AWS. So when AWS goes down, it takes down a whole bunch of stuff with it. So this is one of the easy ways. And I think oftentimes are tests to see how much stuff they can take down. They're trying to get as many companies onto these cloud-based platforms as possible. Then when they want to shut them all down at one time, they can. So they're going to make it really hard for people to post videos and all this stuff to be able to log in to even do it. Whether or not you got Starlink or not, it won't matter because they will have taken down a lot of the login section. They hit you from that spot and you can't log into anything anymore. So they're going to hit us with some big moves. How prepared we are for them personally is one thing. That's up to each one of us. But how prepared we are from a standpoint of the government, I can't speculate. I know they know what's going to happen. I just don't know how prepared they are. We got a lot that's going to happen, guys. And I apologize for the extremely long video, but it is what it is. I love you guys. We will keep fighting this fight. And I'll be doing live probably Tuesday night with the president's speech. I look forward to watching that so much. The State of the Union. We will be broadcasting that most likely live. I'll let you guys know tomorrow's show. All that said, I love you. Where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.